Is the government pushing an evil agenda?
Trying to tell me when you and I don't know how old you are, but we gotta be around the same age, graduated high school, there were this many trans kids?
Yes. It's just now that there's an opportunity for them to be expressive and they're in a safe space now, because now they were probably struggling a little bit more, but the community has always been
That's an agenda.
Let's talk about it here on All Things Theology. You might be music.
All things theology, all things theology. We chop it up properly without an apology. Gotta give that theology to God, hallowed be, cause this is how we do it at All Things Theology.
Yo, grace and peace. Welcome back to another episode of All Things Theology, where this is your host K-Dub, and today we got to talk about this conversation with Candace Owens and Nick Cannon. Let me just say off the rip, I have my disagreements with Candace Owens, but I want to look at this interview she did with Nick Cannon. Brought her on, did an interview with her, and it got into a little, I don't want to say heated, but a disagreement, and I think it's a good time to give some commentary over it. So let's get into it. Let's watch this clip. I want to hear your thoughts as we go through.
Plausible. How is it plausible that everything Hollywood promotes is antithetical to the Bible? I mean, there's gotta be like just one thing that they were like, yeah, that part's true. No, it's like they're anti-marriage, they're anti-life, they're pro-transgendered, it's like literally, it's like someone read.
I mean, she ain't lying, right? No. She ain't lying. It's like Hollywood is a mess, man. And I mean, I'm not saying there aren't Christians who aren't involved in Hollywood, but I will say it is a rarity, because generally once a Christian gets deeper, it gets a mess, right? But Nick Cannon's about to disagree with this. Watch.
The Bible and then said it upside down, and they go, that's Hollywood.
But this is my thing.
Then if you are, say something biblical, or you are faithful in Hollywood, you'd be the first person to get canceled.
See, I disagree. And then only reason because I
mean, but look at it. But he's in Hollywood, so that's why he's disagreeing. But Nick Cannon, I mean, you ain't affirming all the Bible. I mean, right? But look at Hollywood, bro. Anytime someone speaks out about abortion, LGBT, right? These people get blackballed. They get, something that's countercultural to what the narrative of Hollywood. They get pushed out. I mean, all the time, right? And even when people who aren't necessarily Christian speak out on issues, I mean, there's been people who aren't Christian, they speak out about all the trans stuff or the even abortion or LGBT stuff, and they get pushed. And guess what happens? They have to come out and apologize. You find an old clip from like 2008 of some celebrity saying something that everybody believed pretty much. And then they find that clip, it gets, put out there and resurface and viral, and then they have to apologize for it. We see it all the time.
in it, and as a person who's learned to attempt to walk and operate in a higher frequency, I've always said,
what's the higher frequency?
Somebody taught me this, is like, yo, you can find the devil in anything, but you can see God in everything.
Show me.
No, you cannot. No, you can't.
Boy, ain't no way, boy. Boy, ain't no way, boy.
God is not in everything. He's not in the sin and the stuff that Hollywood's promoting, right?
God in Hollywood, please. Tell me right now.
Ways.
Oh, give it to me.
You can't see God in Hollywood.
I literally see.
You can't. So you never tell me, there's never been a film that has touched your soul so much that it actually enlightened you and inspired you.
Well, what you're give me an example, because then if you
Forrest Gump.
Let me give you, Hollywood exists to make you believe that what you're watching.
It's to land of make believe.
Yeah, it is a land of make-believe, but the problem is that people then think that is real. So you don't realize that there's an agenda. So you're watching a film, and I think years ago, right before the explosion of the trans agenda, which I'm adamantly opposed to, there was a film, and it won the Oscar for the first person that ever got transgendered surgery. Somebody help me here. Somebody knows this movie, no? None of y'all saw it. Yeah, I didn't watch it either. Anyways, it won an Oscar, and the guy who played the girl, or the girl played the guy, came on stage and like did this whole speech. Literally right after, it was just like transgender everywhere.
But that's
because they have, Hollywood has an agenda, right? They want to push. I mean, whatever they want to push, that's what's going to show up in the films. That's what's going to show up in the movies. That's what's going to show up in the music. All of that's going to be pushed and push this narrative, right? That's how it works. So yeah, they'll give you a little feel-good story, but you got sin following, madness following right along with it as well. So, okay.
a beautiful story.
It's not a beautiful story because this is the problem.
Beautiful
Kids
story.
grow up and TV is something that is impacting their psyche and their spirit. They don't realize it. You don't make that connection early on. You think you're watching stuff.
Unless they have parents that explain to them.
But that's the problem. They don't.
Right.
That's the problem. They don't.
So then that's the ultimate problem.
Yes.
It's not Hollywood that's the problem.
But even parents are being influenced, right? Because they have jobs and they're getting HR training on how to deal with this stuff. And they're being told what to think and they're being influenced as well. So it's a universal problem or a national problem, right? I'm not saying that there isn't a higher culpability to parents, but I mean, everybody, okay, let me not say that. The large majority of society is caving on moral issues, which is unfortunate, right? But I want you to hear something Nick Cannon says here in a second.
Hollywood's a piece of it. So what I say is that what they've done quite brilliantly is they intentionally broke down the family, okay? Because
not Hollywood, you're saying the government.
The government, yeah, the government's, this is all government, just to be clear. Yeah. The government broke down the family because they knew that the youth would naturally aspire or seek out matriarchy and patriarchy elsewhere. Mm-hmm. So you don't have mom and dad at home. Who becomes mom and dad?
Government.
Okay, you're the kid listening to your sound.
Yeah, and Candace is absolutely right on this. Once you get rid of the family structure, you get rid of the fatherly influence, the motherly influence, which is compatible to one another. They complete one another in this structure. Now you bring in confusion, right? Singleness, whether it's the father or the mother, right? Or guy who comes in every now and then, right? He's not the dad. He's just kind of some guy that the mom kind of keeps around, or, singleness, or the same sex, same gender relationship, right, which breeds confusion, or you have trans. It's a mess, right? And then so now you get the authority structure out of the home, right? You get the influence that a family will have as far as teaching about God, right? And now that's replaced with government. It's replaced with some other figure. So you don't get rid of God, right? You replace God with some made up God, some person, some figure, institution that doesn't have actual authority, and that becomes God, right? It's unfortunate, but that's how the way it is. This is the way we see it being played out.
Walking down the street, right. Now you're like, when I was growing up, like, it's now mom and dad, and maybe it's Biggie, it's Pac, maybe it's now for another kid who's like the hot new artist coming up now. I don't know who would you say is like the hot new artist these days?
Yeah, Drake, Kendrick,
whatever. Drake, Kendrick Lamar, whoever it is. You turn these people, suddenly you're pursuing that patriarchy no matter what. So dad's not at home, you're not spending time with mom and dad, then you're getting pushed into the school system. So you're learning history a certain way, culture is impacting you a certain way. It's all related. It's not, these things are not separate.
Because that's life.
But that's not life. It was not life. It was not
we've always had influence from entertainers and people that we looked at. You can go all the way back to Shakespeare. Like, it's always, our philosophers were our entertainers. People were walking around quoting Plato and Aristotle.
Entertainment is a part of life. That's correct. Right. But what I mean by that is Hollywood is
about money.
But it's not about money.
You think it's more than money? Because everything you're saying is
100%. I think but they do.
It's for the dollar. It's not to really control minds.
There was no dollar. You're trying to tell me when you and I don't know how old you are, but we gotta be around the same age, graduated high school, there were this many trans kids?
Yes.
What are you talking about, boy? No. I'll tell you what. So I'm in my mid-30s. There was nobody trans. Now you have some androgynous dudes who wanted to be females. Let me just say that it was only one I can remember like that stood out, maybe two, but none of the females, even the tomboys, weren't trying to be dudes. Like, they knew they was a female. Like, that's at my school. It was I live in a population. Went to school with it was 2,000 people, 2,500 people in our 9 through 12. So that's a pretty big range. And, there were 3 high schools, and it's the same for all of them. I didn't know anybody claiming to be, I feel like a boy when they're a girl, or a girl when they're a guy. This is like a new development as far as our society. Now, sure, it happened 1,000 years ago where, you can go back to the Romans. They were doing all sorts of madness and nonsense. And guess what? they fell off because of it, right? We're trying to follow right after their immorality. But I don't know about y'all. Y'all tell me, did y'all know any trans people in high school? I mean, middle school, elementary. Let's even do that, because now you got that being, you know, the little kids. It ain't even just high school. They saying in you know, elementary. He's saying, Nick, bro, eye to eye, man to man, bro. You knew a trans kid. I'm not talking about somebody who was gay, right? You always had gay people that were saying, look, I'm a male biologically, but I feel like a female. I knew nobody like that, right? Until this craze happened.
It's just now that there's an opportunity for them to be expressive, and they're in a safe space now, because now they were probably struggling a little bit more, but the community has always been
that's
the
an
community.
agenda. That's an agenda. And I think
so. What would the because
I think Candace is right to this point. Sorry for interrupting so much, but I mean, things like TikTok, social media, Reddit have influenced to the uptick of you know, people being influenced, because there is a component to where you know, Nick Cannon's right about entertainment being influential and things like that. Yes, it works for good and it works for evil. And I think this is one we see very directly. Like, without the internet, I don't think the trans movement would have kicked off as strong as it is. Yeah, that's why, I mean, you try to normalize it. It's you know, you got to have a rapper or a singer that's trans. It's in the movies, right? It's always in your face to try to normalize it and desensitize it from it. Because even we can be desensitized from things like this. You just see it over and over. You're just kind of like, yeah, whatever, right? Until, hey, next thing you know, it's everywhere.
When you hear people that are speaking about that agenda, like Cat Williams came out and said that he knew it was going to be a thing, then you start realizing like they go from a movie to suddenly trying to sell it to you by telling you, oh, this person's kid is non-binary. What are you talking about?
Yeah, look, Dwayne Wade, right? You have who else? Magic Johnson's whatever, right? I'm not trying to offend anybody, right? You know, you see the point, right? You Hollywood's kids, they become the popularity people, right? You got Bruce Jenner, right? Changing to Caitlyn Jenner. And you see it with them, right? So now you see the celebrities doing it, like, oh, it's normal, it's completely fine, right? Thankfully, I think we're transitioning to a new period now where celebrities don't have the pull that they once did. I hope that trend keeps staying, because I think that's a good thing. People should be known more by their intellect and their expertise on a subject, not because you're good in one area, therefore you can speak to any area, right? No, you have to know what you're talking about. And so, but Candace is spot on with this.
These kids are not all confused about what gender they are. You're teaching them that. Kids don't think like this. What do you mean? What are you non-bound to? Why are you saying this? Right. Well, you're being attacked in your psyche, and you feel in like the classroom.
That's the ultimate agenda.
Hollywood,
like, what is so within that agenda? What's being accomplished?
Confusion.
What do you mean? What's being accomplished?
Like, why would someone set an agenda to convince?
Well, in my viewpoint, when you look at all of the agendas, the one thing that they all have in common is they're an attack on the family. So if you examine history,
the nuclear family,
yes, and if you examine history, anytime socialism, communism, obviously the most evil ideology that's ever existed, has led to the death of 100 million people over the last 100 years. Once those communist regimes achieved power over the people, one of the first things they established was that you were not allowed to practice faith, and they would break down your family because the state wanted to become your family. They didn't want you to go to dad for advice or be sitting around with mom and dad at the table. We are your family.
And this should be an encouraging to fathers that your voice is important, right? That the government knows your voice is important. And so don't be foolish. Don't be out here doing drugs where you get locked up and, right, you're not able to have that direct voice relationship to your son and your daughter, right? So, I mean, let this be an encouragement, you know, the government already want to get the man out of the home, right? Don't do anything foolish to contribute it or to assist to that, right? Be there, right?
Family now. Right. You can read the book 1984. It kind of has this scene where it talks about how even children will tell on their parents if they're not abiding by the rules of the state. This is 1984, unfortunately, is now 2024. We saw this during COVID. And people are going to the government to how should I live? I mean, during COVID to me was the ultimate. I thought they were flexing to really test how much power they had over, how much they had achieved, how much power they had via the media. Could we get people to just do, like, it was like a game of Evil Simon Says, 6 feet social distancing, wear a mask. People were doing things. I swear, if they had come out tomorrow and said, you have to hop on one foot to live, people would have been like,
yeah, we saw so much ridiculousness during COVID. And look, if you're for it or against it, look, that's not the point, right? We just saw so much lunacy. I mean, masks didn't stop it, right? You can argue, I mean, people weren't able to see their families. I mean, ultimate ridiculous, right? We were told 2 weeks to stop the spread. Then next thing you know, it's a year, 2 years later, right? Churches locked down, and like the world went to nearly shambles, and we're still picking up the pieces to be restored from that now. I mean, people were literally wearing helmets to like astronaut suits to go to Walmart. We just kind of got out of this stuff, and I think we've already forgot. Like, I think what happened during COVID, so many people realize, oh, my government will not always tell me the truth. I know I came a little more skeptical. Now, I'm not here being a rebellious, hell yes, like just not listening to anything. Of course, you have to obey and respect the government. But now I'm a little more critical thinking than I was before. Maybe that's your story as well. Hey, it is for me.
Around grocery stores like that because they wanted to test to see how quickly they could infiltrate the psyche and how people would abide and whether they would tell one another, which they did. People were calling on their neighbors. Like, I saw 2 people walk into the house. It's funny in the retrospect, but also scary in the retrospect. Right now, people are trying to walk back. They were telling on each other, trying to get people fired. You know, I saw this person at the grocery store supposed to go once a week. That to me was the ultimate flex of the arm of the state to see how much control they had over people.
Wow. I mean, what do y'all think about this? I mean, there's a myriad of topics they discuss, even in this clip. By the way, I'll put the full link in the description so you can check it out. But I do think there is an evil agenda. I mean, we even talk about from a biblical perspective that the world, the system of the age, spirit of the age permeates through the world, right? All forms of government, right? Not just our American government, but all throughout the world, right? And again, we're seeing so much being pushed at us so rapid, and what even is more to contribute to this, let me say it this way, is the idea of news daily. I personally don't think we were meant to take on so much news at a time. I mean, you just have breaking story, and it's like you next thing you know, you forgot about the one that happened 3 stories ago, and a new story's happening, and now this is life changing. And it's like, man, I don't know if we were meant. In some ways, the internet and the internet and the news have kind of thrown so much at us. And it's like, I know. I mean, without the internet, wouldn't be able to do this video, but I hope you understand what I'm saying. There's a large negative effect to all this. And so, hey, just wanted to weigh in, interested in your thoughts. Leave a comment in the comment section. Let me know what you thought about this video. Till the next time, grace and peace. Oh, grace and peace. Thank you for watching another episode of All Things Theology. If you enjoyed what you heard today, go on and give me a like. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell. I promise to give you weekly lives, videos, interactions, exposing false teachers, sharing with you, the viewer, my theological beliefs, things about the culture, and the Bible. So if you're here for that, come on and join us. Also, if you would like to support this channel financially, you can do so by becoming a Patreon member or a YouTube member. Links are in the description below. You can see content before it drops. You can also have Q&A sessions with also other Patreon members, YouTube members as well. So if you would like that, hit the description link in below.